everybody else here with me, Dylan, Frank, Chris. Russ will be with us momentarily. He's just having some technical issues right now. First, before we get into anything, just want to give a big shout out to our network partnership at Big Banter. You can check out their website. They've got a list of about 13 really good podcasts and blogs you can read about, 13 really good teams that you can read about. It's really good for just Big Ten information overall. And then we've got to shout out our sponsor at Blitzboards as well. Since he's a Blitzboards, sorry, Cincy Blitzboards is a Boilermaker-owned business that brings a fun new game to cookouts and tailgates. Blitzboards is great for any occasions, whether that's cookouts, tailgates, family gatherings, and more. So be sure to follow Cincy Blitzboards at Blitzboards on Twitter and Instagram as well. And you can get that as soon as possible. They're super quick at responding, and get yours today. So, but guys, we were in most of us were in Blacksburg, Virginia this week. Went to the Purdue Virginia Tech game, and I gotta say I was thoroughly not surprised. I didn't expect a bad time in Blacksburg, but I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I guess I've never really traveled that far away for an away game, but I think Lane Stadium definitely lives up to the hype. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree completely. We went to Wisconsin last October and was really disappointed with the jump around. And that's something I know they take a lot of pride in there. And at Lane Stadium, they take a lot of pride in the Inner Sandman and talk about it being an intimidating and kind of a monument to college football. And it did not disappoint at all. And from what the fans around us told us, it was kind of a watered down version, no pun intended. So it was a modified version due to the rain delay that we experienced. So for anyone who doesn't know, there was actually 2 rain delays. One was 15 minutes and the other was just under 6 hours.
Yeah.
5 hours and 27 minutes.
5 hours, 27 minutes. Yeah. So instead of the typical, team walks down the tunnel, they play Inner Sandman, crowd gets hyped, and the team runs in. We kind of got to see a modified version where they just played it as the teams were setting up for kickoff. That being said, the fans started going crazy. We joined in as well. Some Virginia Tech fans came over and were kind of celebrating with us. They thought it was really cool that we were celebrating along with them and participating in their tradition. But, fans couldn't have been nicer, couldn't have been more welcoming. We were introduced to an alcoholic beverage that they called, the Hokie Shot?
Hokie Shot.
Which I believe was 2 different types of whiskey mixed with Fireball.
So 3 different types of whiskey.
Yeah. Wasn't up to my taste, but I was really happy to try it and to make some new friends, some that are Virginia Tech fans. But fantastic atmosphere, fantastic stadium. Hot take here, but I think it could be a more fun and better stadium than Ross-Ade. And I'm going to put that out there and see what you all think.
I think they definitely do a really good job at making the fans involved from the very beginning. They play tons of different music too. It's not just the same repeated stuff over and over. They play lots of different songs. There's songs that are going to get, the fans hyped up. It's funny coming back from that second really long rain delay, the stadium was like completely depleted. Like was at maybe 30 to 40% capacity from what it was when the game was originally supposed to start. And the crowd was like dead silent. And nobody thought they were going to play Inner Sandman again. They play Inner Sandman, the whole place just comes alive, and you see it just become electric. I think they do just a fantastic job, and it's like they have somebody up there that's just like monitoring the fans, almost like, okay, it's kind of getting dead. All right, let's spike it up here. Let's put something out there to get everybody hyped up again. So I think they do a great job, and because not that they're a bad team, but obviously they're not like they haven't had the best couple of years, but people still love going to the games. They still love the atmosphere. And I think that's a huge testament to that culture down there because, not going to lie, Purdue fans were not the same. When things aren't going great, we don't show up. Virginia Tech fans definitely do. So shout out to Virginia Tech fans and shout out to Pete who invited us to that tailgate. I just remember that one guy's name was Pete. So shout out to Pete.
The one knock I will say on their game day atmosphere was on third down.
Oh my God.
They do the key jingle, which is fine. I have no issues with that. But before the key jingle, they play this sound and it is the most shrill, high pitched turkey gobble sound. I don't even know if I want to attempt to try it.
I would love for you to try it.
Oh, you could hear it on TV.
Oh, you can hear it on TV. Okay, so I don't even need to try and
You
imitate
could
it.
hear it, trust me.
Yeah, but it wasn't just the noise; it was the volume that they played it at. It was just so loud. And before the game, we saw a lot of kids with earmuffs on, which made sense, but also a lot of adults. And we only got to see about 10 minutes of a fully packed Lane Stadium in the first quarter, but it was loud. I mean, it was
very
loud
loud.
on a different level. And it was just rowdy and hyped, and I was impressed. I mean, it lived up to the hype, kind of exceeded what I thought it was going to be. So, hats off to Virginia Tech and the culture and everything they do there. I'm so glad we went. It was a fantastic time. Got to see a great game. Got to see Purdue pull out the win. So no complaints outside of the rain.
I'll say one more thing is that shout out to all my Southern Indiana Purdue fans, because you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That gobbler sound, that turkey sound, it sounds exactly like the sound that it makes when you're on the gobbler getaway at Holiday World, the little like turkey shooting game. I thought I was at Holiday World every third
I
down.
love that's a great reference. That was awesome. I have no idea what you're talking about because but it was great.
Anyway. Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway.
Caught me off guard. I wasn't ready for that one. I was like, dang it. They caught me there. But yeah. So Chris, what did you think? Did you have anything?
It was like pretty much echoing what everybody else said, and kind of being in the business I am. When I'm not on the pod, I was kind of surprised / concerned about the lack of a preparedness for such a rain delay, especially of the length that it was.
That's true.
Just for the simple fact that like there was a point where they were like, hey, we're going to reevaluate at 3:00. It was like 1:30, 1:45 when we heard that. And then they're like, hey, we're going to reevaluate at 5. And they had closed the concession stands basically on the second and third level where we were at. We're like, okay. And like the time kept going, and like I could feel that I was getting starving. I know you guys were too. I was starting to get really, really agitated. And like Frank sees somebody with like nachos or something, and we're like, what the hell? And sure enough, we go down to the very bottom and there's food. And I'm like, oh my God, like I've only been waiting for like 4 hours. What the hell? And it would have just been
mess with hungry Chris.
No, I get pretty upset.
Fight.
So it would, I think some of that, and as well as like some of the like, hey, leave the stadium while the monsoon is coming, and like lightning strikes, and it was.
I saw some videos of those lightning strikes.
Be with you, bro.
They were intense.
Yeah. So like, honestly though, like outside of the weather aspect of it, stadium's really nice. Campus is gorgeous. The people were really nice. Place we parked was really muddy, but that's a whole other ordeal. But no, honestly, it was a really good experience. I'm glad we had the opportunity to go, and I look forward to representing the pod in the next location that we travel to.
Nothing like
the flag on the flagpole at tailgate looked really good.
It was crisp.
Nothing like slinging out a crisp 150 to get moved 30 feet. Too.
Yeah.
Our car, the car was like in a swamp. Basically, we were like on this hill, and it poured rain, like 4 inches of rain. And so we tried to get it out, and we couldn't. And I'm ashamed to say this, but I was pretty sore yesterday and like some of today from pushing the car, because we helped another car that was out there too.
Hey, attaboys. Way to be a good friend.
Yeah. So I think there was like 8 of us trying to move two cars, and we just couldn't do it. So
no. And then whenever they drug out the Russ's car from the mud, it was like that tire was like almost completely into the mud. So there was no way we were gonna push it out. But the tow truck guy was like the stereotypical tow truck guy. He comes up to us and he's like, best I can do is 125.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where I don't hate the player, I hate the game, because he knew, it was 11 o'clock at night. He knew the situation we were in. We were from out of town, and our car was stuck in the mud. So, so it was, 125 to move our car, or 30 feet or so. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. It was not a good time.
Don't hate the
One thing we
player,
didn't
hate the game.
mention is the fact that we did have the opportunity to actually walk into the tunnel
That was crazy.
and touch the Hokie Stone. So that was really cool to have that opportunity. It's pretty surreal to actually walk through there and touch the Hokie Stone. So that was really neat as well. Got to take a look at the basketball stadium inside. It's really nice. It's really steep. I did climb all the way to the top just out of sheer curiosity to see what the view was like. Not as good as Mackey, but
it reminds me a lot of where the Pacers play.
Oh, the field house that changes.
The field house. Yeah. Yep.
So here we have a listener or viewer comment here from Cody. Hopefully you guys are going to be there Saturday night because the missus and I would love to buy you guys a drink.
Cody,
I will not be, but I know a couple
Shout
of
out to Cody.
Yeah.
Being there,
You're
Cody.
gonna regret
I
it,
really
but we
appreciate
appreciate
that.
You're gonna regret it, but we appreciate it.
Well, and on that subject, I will say I was both shocked and humbled at the number of people who came up to us and recognized us at the Virginia Tech game and talked to
That
us
was
about
weird,
the
isn't it?
podcast.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was.
And
And for
championship, it was wild.
for those of you that we got to interact with, thank you so much for listening. It was good to know that someone else gets something out of this, besides us. So that was a lot of fun to meet you all and to have that experience with you.
See,
So
but when I was at the Big Ten championship, I just had 3 or 4 people yell, "Where's Rowdy?" And I'm like, I don't know. My question too, bud.
We
Yo,
got
thanks,
another
Ohio
comment here.
Podcast.
Another comment here. What's up, my friends? Great win over the weekend.
OHIO. And I won't say that for anybody besides Eric.
Thank you. I
The
appreciate
only
that.
time you'll hear me say the OHIO. It's where I live.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of
Otherwise,
it,
I'll burn you.
but-
At the stake.
Always good to make a long drive and come away with a win for sure.
Hey, by
Those
the
guys
way,
are coming to West Lafayette too.
Yeah, I talked to Eric today, and he got a hard hat in, which is going to be the trophy of whoever wins Ohio State Purdue. And so whoever wins gets this hard hat. So that's going to be pretty rad. The whole crew from the OHIO podcast is going to be at the game. Chris, Eric, and then
There's only one.
there's only one Chris here.
Only one.
This podcast ain't big enough for the 2 Chris's.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna have a little trophy, but goes to the winner of the game, so that'll be fun.
Nice. That'll be cool.
I love the guys at the OHIO podcast. They're good people.
Yeah, they're good people.
They're by far my favorite Ohio State fans. By far.
Yeah,
Probably my
And
only ones I do like.
pretty much. Yeah, might be my. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh man, but yeah, I was gonna say something else about Lane Stadium too. I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, it was just kind of a Chris alluded to it earlier, talking about like how nobody knew what was going on. Blacksburg was kind of just a lawless land at that point, not in a bad way, but just like you could places you normally should not ever try to go into, like you just could, like
Yeah.
So we were walking around. We were actually heading to the basketball stadium, and Frank and Russ saw the tunnel, and they were just like, let's go in the tunnel. And Chris and I were like, I don't know. And there was also like a Virginia Tech like personnel walking up the tunnel as they were walking down. So it's like, oh, they're gonna get told to like turn around. They'll be out of here in like 2 seconds. 5 minutes goes by. I'm like, where the heck are these guys? And we look into the tunnel. Nobody's there. I'm like, so we call Frank, and he's like, oh yeah, we're down here. We're touching the Hokie Stone, and this cop is like super cool and blah blah blah. And so we all got to walk down the tunnel. It's really cool because they have this whole wall of. Is it like all the seniors, or is it like
it's every senior? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
actually found Michael Vick's name. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was super cool. It was just like, one of those historical things that you've always seen. You've watched the YouTube videos, you've seen the entrance, you've heard them talk about the Hokie Stone, and then just getting to like be there and be part of it was pretty cool. And
My
then like they
favorite
had
part-
the go ahead.
No, I was
No, I
gonna
was
say my favorite part was when I texted the group chat. You guys sent the photos, and I was like, "Holy crap! Like, how'd you guys get to do that?" And one of you, I think it was Russ, was like, "Oh, we just walked down there. Like, we just moseyed
it.
our way down there. Fake it till you make it. You know."
Yes.
Got a comment here. Did you just say you touched the Hokies stones?
Just
we
one
t-
stone.
Yeah,
one.
just the
a big stone, but
individual
just one.
stone. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
not
it is
until
very
you try
large.
it,
Yeah,
Eric, right?
and it's quite worn too from a lot of touches.
A lot of usage.
Yeah.
Been a lot.
Getting slapped
Been a
around a
lot.
lot.
Been around the block, but I'm all right. Anyway,
Oh my gosh,
Chris, that was not an approved look, I don't think.
No, probably not.
But yeah, so the game started out pretty solid for the first,
Mhm.
2 minutes or whatever that we got to play before we got, paused for 6 hours. The guys
Yeah.
had the ball. I think, did they score on their first drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yep.
scored on their first drive, punched it in, and then got the ball back pretty quickly and was on the way to punch it in again. And the rain delay happened. We came back, and it was really cool because even though the stadium was like not at full capacity, it was like 30 to 40% full. It was kind of, again, a lawless land. They weren't checking tickets, so we got to sit wherever we wanted to, basically. And we got to move down to like the pretty low section, sitting about midfield to watch the rest of the game. And I think the crowd definitely hyped the team up again. They were into it. They were playing the music and everything. And
Mhm.
Purdue turned it over on that third down that they came back out in. But they kind of picked it up there for a little bit. They came out swinging, got up to a 17-0 lead. And the second quarter was just and the second quarter is the only thing that I really have qualms with at all from this game.
And it was really the last 6 minutes of the second quarter.
Yeah, just kind of a collapse there. And
Yeah.
Virginia Tech was able to tie it up at halftime. But what going into the half, did you guys? Because I know I said before the game restarted, I was like, man, I was so pumped before the game, but now I've got this like eerie feeling in my stomach. Did you guys feel that at all? Or were you guys like just pumped or ready to go? Or
So I think I did feel that eerie feeling that you talked about until the players started to act like they wanted to walk toward the locker room, and Walters kind of was like, no, like we're just gonna have this meeting here. So there was an abbreviated halftime. Virginia Tech, their team, they actually did go to the locker room, which was quite a long walk for them. Didn't quite make a ton of sense to me. I'm not exactly sure how long the halftime was, maybe 10 minutes.
It was 10 minutes.
But it seemed like, the Purdue players were intending to go to the locker room, and Walters was just like, nope, huddle, and just kind of pulled everyone to a huddle. We weren't close enough that we could hear what he was saying. We were close enough that we could see the seriousness on his face. And there was just a lot of like, his demeanor sort of exhibited that he was saying like, relax, just calm down. We got this, do our thing. And he just stood there and kept the players huddled in a circle around him for the majority of the halftime. And, I once I saw that, he was kind of taking the bull by the horns and doing what he needed to do to get the team in the right mindset, I started to feel a little bit better. And that was that was really cool to see him just kind of take control. Also on the subject of Walters, it was really crazy, not to get too ahead of myself in the timeline of the game. It was really crazy to see him have to be restrained on that roughing the passer call that Jacob Thieneman was tagged with.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, he started to walk onto the field, and I believe it was TJ McCollum got in front of him and was like, no, get back. Yeah.
the new get back coach.
Yeah.
And the index finger that he extended at the referee just stood there and just like for a good 5 to 8 seconds, just.
And if you rewatch the game, you can actually see it. Like after he calls a penalty, he's like, "Hey, I need to talk to you," like 3 times.
Oh, he had some choice words.
Oh yeah. If you read lips,
it was pretty obvious to say he was not.
Yeah. Yeah. And from our perspective, it was after they kicked the extra point was when he started to have to be restrained. And he literally is standing there and is like, he's got the ball in his hand. Like he was not having a good time.
I like
it was cool because
I like the energy.
It was cool because it was like a good, like, I'm fighting for my players type of energy, not like I'm going out there and just making a fool of myself type, like PO'd. It was like my guys are playing the right way. They're playing discipline, and this is what you're going to go out here and you're going to call, and you're going to like ruin any like this momentum that we've got going. So I definitely like it from that perspective too. It's definitely a kind of like a righteous anger almost.
Yeah.
And I mean, he definitely rallied the troops. I think so. Purdue Creative, again, shout out to Purdue Creative. They're fantastic in every aspect of what they do. They made basically a movie, not like in length, but just like the quality of it. Just kind of a recap of their time in Virginia Tech and Blacksburg. And I think there's a small clip of that huddle. I think he's like where he's saying like, you guys are going to leave this field saying, I told you so. I told you so. And dude, he's got this like giant veins that just come out of his neck when he's getting all amped up like that. And I mean, it's just you can't help but get pumped up with them. And then the players are feeding into it. I mean, I know we don't want to jump the gun again, but my God, after the game, the players were so amped up. They were getting the crowd amped up. I mean, it was just a really cool, like, I mean, this is a team. They're learning together. And you saw from like week 1 to week 2, especially defense, I think you saw how much they grew just in that 1 week. What do you guys think?
Oh, 100%. I think that the impressive thing I saw was that we gave up 17 points in 6 minutes and didn't give up a point for the rest of the game. They came out and played tremendous in that second half. Gave up the second least rushing yards in program history. I think it was Louisville in 1987 with negative 31 yards. That's just something I read somewhere.
The inside joke here is that we probably brought up the stat like 100 times from the end of the game until like we got home Monday or Sunday night. So
yeah. Anyway, but
our fifth member has just joined us. Let's get his take on the game.
What up, Russ?
Russ.
Hello, you good-looking young man. How's it going?
What's up, good-looking old fella?
What's up?
Hey, I gotta give Russ a shout out for his weather report. He went out, he risked his life,
killed it.
And just all hail to Russ. Even our guy Trevor gave you a little praise. Said you kind of oversold it. I don't think so. I think you did great. I think it was dangerous.
It's funny you said all hail because there was like I think baseball-sized hail included in that. But I wasn't phased, as you could see. I didn't.
You're a man of the people.
I tried.
So just a real quick viewer comment here again from Cody. Coach Walters kind of reminds me of Coach Tiller when it comes to standing up for the guys. I completely agree there. I completely agree with that one.
Totally see that.
It wasn't, and like as Damon said, it wasn't an anger. It was more like that was a bad call, and the game was just so poorly officiated both ways.
Within 3 plays, we had like there was like 2 late
comment. Pull it up right now.
Got a comment here.
Wow.
Finally, someone with some wisdom on the show from the OVO podcast.
Isn't there a band hammer on here somewhere?
Is it what?
Darn it.
A band hammer on here somewhere?
I love
that
anyway,
someone
gives Russ a compliment. We're no way.
Sorry to take away your opportunity, Russ. What did you think of the game?
I mean, I loved the experience, but looking back, man, I hate that it took like 15 hours because like we were talked about how we were wanting to look around Blacksburg, look around the campus, which we kind of did get to see things that we probably wouldn't have seen otherwise. But I mean, it was definitely a day that we won't forget and Walters won't forget for his first win. So yeah, I think it was awesome in that aspect because that kind of stuff never usually happens, knock on wood. I mean, I know we get some weather issues. It seems like Mother Nature does not like the boilers, but I think it was a really cool and unique first win for Coach Walters for sure. And we got to interact with the players and the coaches as well in a way that we might not have been able to had it not been that big weather delay and 75% of the fans not returning, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
And so we've talked about the first half and how Purdue got up to an early lead, and then Virginia Tech came back and scored 17 to tie us up, and it really was a game of 4 quarters. So, Russ, you want to kick us off and give us your take on the third quarter?
Yeah. So, I mean, the third quarter, it was obviously the defense really locked in, and I think I heard you guys talking. I was trying to listen as I was getting my stuff set back up. It was a good defensive game for the first 20 minutes or so as well, 20 to 25 minutes. It was that last half of the second quarter when we kind of let things get out of hand, and then they locked right back in. And offensively, it was just like a calamity of events that ended each drive. Like couldn't pick up a 4th and 1, or got down around the 40 and couldn't get the field goal because we make the field goal, but then there's a phantom timeout, and then we missed the second field goal. Or then we decide to punt the next time down, but then go in the end zone and comes back out to the 20, and it's like a net 17, 18-yard punt. So, I think Hudson Card in a post-game interview kind of mentioned that the mistakes we made and the things that caused us to not really win the game by more were self-inflicted damage. It was things that we were just screwing up, not necessarily anything that Virginia Tech was doing. Our defense, I really look for them to take another step this week. Because if you talk about outside of those 6 minutes, we shut out Virginia Tech. now Virginia Tech again might not even be a bowl team, so I don't know how much that is necessarily saying, but game 1 to game 2 is when you're supposed to see that improvement. I think we saw it for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, they went from allowing 39 points to Fresno State to 17. And again, like you said, it was just within a 6-minute span too. Just some unfortunate big plays that occurred, and Purdue wasn't able to hold them down for the rest of that second quarter. But yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see the jump this week as well, and I'm excited to see the jump in offense too, because I'm curious to see, because I think obviously, Deion Burks is the wide receiver one. He is like not necessarily the main target, but I think he's always being looked at when he's out on the field. And it's going to be really interesting to see, how does this offense evolve? Because it's not like what I'm used to in the Jeff Brom era of we've got this one guy that we're going to hit 75% of the time, and then we'll throw it to somebody else to throw, keep everybody on their feet. Whereas I feel like it's very spread out, very you just don't know at the end of the day who is going to get the ball. And I do think that, and I know Frank, you talked about it a little bit just over the weekend, but I think Hudson Card really improved his read option and reading which way to go. So I think on all sides it's getting better.
Yeah, I definitely think there was some major improvement on that front. And Walters had said, not necessarily referencing the previous coaching staff, but he said, in years previous, it seemed like we tried to target one guy or force the ball to one guy. And, this offense is more based around, giving Hudson Card the ability to make decisions and make reads on his own. And I guarantee that Virginia Tech didn't game plan for Max Clare. They just didn't. And he's a true freshman. There's not much film on him. There's not much tape on him. It's just that, so Max Clare, I think was he the leading receiver on the day?
Mm-hmm.
He's a redshirt freshman.
Okay, sorry, redshirt freshman. So I just think I enjoy that. The players may not love that, but I think the fact that we're willing to throw the ball to whoever's open is a good thing. It's something that we should try to do a little bit more often. Now, it wasn't until going back and rewatching the game that I saw that there were some times where Card missed some open guys for sure. And they're and I see what the Purdue fans were saying, and that the commentary was awful, and the commentary pointed it out a few times. But there were there were some wide open guys he missed, and but I think that stuff's just going to continue to get better. But I think there was there was that defensive jump from week 1 to week 2 that we saw, and I definitely felt like there was an offensive jump. Especially with the run game, we struggled a little bit early, but we had a 15-yard run for a touchdown, then a 22-yard run for a touchdown. We really got things going at the end. I mean, that final drive where we had to put it away, it ultimately led to victory formation. We were just running kind of how Wisconsin runs against us at the end of games. So,
and that's good. A final drive too that I think if we are all thinking about how things have happened previously, we're probably all thinking, oh well, we're going to give them the ball with a minute left, and they're going to come down, march down the field, and tie it up. So to see them really close the game out, finish it out strong. Looks like Devin Mockabee is getting more comfortable in this offense. I think he's figuring it out. Him and Card have to work together on that RPO, especially. And I think they're figuring it out. I think that it's just going to be something that, this is new to everybody. All these schemes, and some players are able to pick it up really fast, and some players it's going to take a few games, but that's all right. And but Devin Mockabee's killing it out there, and I think he's only going to continue to do that because they're feeding him the ball and getting him in good looks. And I think, Chris, you mentioned it over the weekend too. The offensive line looked a lot better, I think, as well. So I think there's an overall good jump.
So. But I think one thing was interesting. I don't know if any of you all saw the post-game interview with Devin Mockabee, but he attributed his struggles in week 1, mostly to himself. He just said that he wasn't mentally prepared and wasn't as locked in as he should have been. Now, I don't know how much of that is just, I'm talking to a reporter, so I have to say the right thing, and how much of that is he legitimately feels that way. But that was still an interesting thing to say. Just we were still figuring some things out, but just say no, that's on me. My performance in week 1 was on me. And it's just a very humbling thing to see him, take that responsibility. We do have another listener comment here, a viewer comment. Mock needs 20 touches a game. I agree. I agree. As long as they're good touches, I couldn't agree more. As long as they're all for positive yardage, completely agree with that.
I think
I will say I agree with that to a point, but I do not want to run his legs out from under.
You
I
mean from
want
like a load management
yes,
standpoint?
I want him still running the ball hard in the Big Ten title game. And because I could care if he gets 20 touches against Fresno State, I want him to have 20 effective touches in November and December.
Well, he had 21 against Virginia Tech.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think a lot of that probably came in the second half, from what I can just remember off of the top of my head from the game. I think I don't know if we just wore Virginia Tech's line down or what, but it seemed like they were definitely, not just him, but Tracy too, were getting better touches, going for more yards. So, yeah, I mean, overall, I think everything. If you had to grade, I know we didn't grade like week 1, so we can't really compare it to week 2, but I think overall, almost every position improved, especially I think obviously there's still our secondary still has some questions. Those aren't going to go away overnight, but I think there was still an improvement from week 1 to week 2, and I think that shows in the fact that they only scored those 17 points within 6 minutes, and then there was crickets for the rest of the game. So
Yeah.
People can say, oh, it's Virginia Tech. People can say, oh, we didn't score enough points. We left too many points on the board, which maybe we did. I think we almost doubled them, if not doubled them in yards, total offensive production.
We gave up 200 less yards from Fresno State to Virginia Tech.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of positives that you can take away from this game. If you want to focus on the negatives, if you want to focus on drop passes or whatever, deep balls, not finishing on 3rd and long a couple times. If you want to focus on that, that's fine. But I think this team's also doing a lot of great things that you can focus on too. So, but we play Syracuse this weekend, guys, a team that gave us a lot of fits last year. It was a back and forth game that we ended up giving away in the last few seconds of the game. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling like we're a more prepared team than Syracuse is. So for anyone who doesn't know, what Syracuse has played Colgate and Western Michigan. So
Gauntlet.
yeah, I mean not the hardest of schedules. So Purdue, as I say this right now, is 31st in PFF Power Rankings, which before we went live they were 30th. These are changing all the time. Syracuse is 52nd. They played Colgate, who they beat 65-0, who is actually unranked in the PFF Power Rankings, and they beat Western Michigan 48-7, who's ranked 83rd in the PFF Power Ranking. So, we can talk about their stats, we can talk about some of their players, but we have to keep in mind before we do that they haven't really played great competition. So, Russ, what do you think about the game?
Maybe go to somebody else right now.
Yeah, I think he's getting word from.
Here we have a listener comment here. Syracuse played a team named after toothpaste. Boilers by a billion.
Boilers by a billion, baby.
There's my boy, Eric. That's my guy. Yeah. That's my guy. Love you, Eric.
Can't say that on the Sons of Saturday podcast. Shout out to you, Billy Ray. But
no, they did not understand my stupidity, which is understandable. I mean,
yeah, it's a refined taste.
Billy Ray, if you're listening, I'm sure it's just the cell service and whatnot, but you didn't show up for our picture after the game like we agreed upon. But that's okay. We'll if we play again in like 5 years.
Cell service was spotty. It was hard to communicate. Yeah, but yeah, that's So, I mean, when I think about last year's game, one player comes to mind that I still have nightmares about, and that's Garrett Schrader. And guess what? He's back. He's back again with Syracuse. This time he's coming to Ross 8. So that's scary. So far this season, 126.5 passer rating, 76.5 adjusted completion percentage. His receivers have been performing well too. Only 2 drops on the season. He does have 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, 543 passing yards. Offensive line has performed well. He's dropped back 63 times to pass, has only been pressured 16 times. Again, keep in mind their schedule. That's just, you gotta take that into consideration.
I wish there's a Ken Palm of stats that like adjusts it.
Stay tuned, Chris. I'm working on something.
Ooh, he's in the big brain.
Big brain.
Hold on.
Garrett Schrader has also been decent on the ground.
Oh,
I
there
didn't
we
see
go.
it.
There we go.
Yeah, there it is.
Hey-o.
Yeah, we need
All right.
we need one for Russ too, if he is still around, because
Russ
he's
can show up.
yeah.
You know?
Also, let's take here a
Ooh.
viewer comment from Cody again.
True.
Remember the last time Syracuse came to Ross-Ade, they were shut out in 2004.
That's
I
right,
do
'cause
remember
nobody
that
comes
game.
to Ross-Ade.
I do remember that game.
And I will say this, that
You
that
got it.
place is going to be energized Saturday night after the garbage we went through last year. It's the first night game in the new renovation of stadium, and it's supposed to be beautiful. Supposed to be like 59 degrees that night.
Hoodie weather.
oh,
Hoodie
yeah.
weather.
It's going to be
Ooh.
perfect.
You're
Bonfire
speaking the
Crystal House.
language.
No, I got to go home, go bed. But
Bonfire
no,
Steak House.
I think it'll be a really fun environment. And this is after last year's game. This was a game I had circled on the schedule because I was like, man, I really want to go to this game because I know that if it's anything like Virginia in basketball, Ross-Ade Stadium is going to be very hostile.
Gonna be a little rowdy.
Doesn't it kind of grind your gears? And I know that I remember Frank saying last year that if we didn't lose, this game and the Penn State game, that Purdue may not have played like they did to end the year last year. But it kind of grinds my gears knowing that if we would have just pulled that out against Syracuse, it would have been a 9-win regular season for Purdue.
I
And
need to
Penn
make
State.
a grind my gears graphic now.
That would have been 10 then. That would have been a 10-win season. That's
Until
great.
you get sued by Family Guy.
They watch,
Yeah.
That's right.
They tune in.
What's the guy's name? Seth MacFarlane? Is that his name?
Mhm.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
only voices every.
Yeah, I was gonna say he
on
does
the
the
show.
voice of like every character on there.
Yeah.
almost.
Pretty much.
That's some. Yeah, I can imagine.
Makes good money.
Anyway.
Hey, he makes a good
But-
chunk of change doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Russ.
I'm stoked though for
Seth MacFarlane looks like a Wish version of freaking Elon Musk.
Russ, welcome back, pal.
he doesn't have his
Well,
ears
one-
on yet.
One thing to say about
Hey,
this
there you
Syracuse
go.
game too, and why it's important. The word on the street is Purdue has dozens of recruits coming to visit for this game.
That's big.
So
Huge.
yeah, confirmed is a
Huge.
2025 target, 4-star cornerback Tarian Grant, another 4-star 2025 target edge rusher Damian Shanklin, 4-star edge rusher Austin Alexander. All three of those guys are 4-star 2025 recruits. 3-star linebacker Grant Bierman, 3-star defensive lineman Antonio Carter, all confirmed to be there. But the report was dozens of recruits. Both for 2024, but mostly for 2025. So
I feel like I'm gonna need to bring out my WWE belt for this game. I feel like it's time. I haven't brought it out to a game yet, and I feel like it's time now.
Will you be allowed to?
Yeah, I've brought it into Ross-Ade before.
Ah, cool.
So
Can't
Russ,
bring
I hear you have an interesting stat about Syracuse that you'd like to
welcome
share
back,
with
Russ.
us.
I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
Fake news.
It was about Virginia Tech. I was trying to get it in before we transitioned.
No, we can revert back. Let's do it.
So one of the big. Do you guys remember one of the big issues we had against Fresno State defensively?
Giving up those third and whatever, like third and 8s, third and 10s, third and 14s.
Secondary.
Third down, right? And offensively, we struggled on third down against them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So offensively, we went from 3 for 12 against Fresno State to 7 for 17 against Virginia Tech, right? Huge improvement, almost doubled efficiency. Defensively, how good do you think we were defensively on third down, percentage wise?
I feel
10%
like we were so a percentage of getting off the field on third downs.
Of them picking up first downs. Just
Okay,
go from
yeah.
that
So
perspective.
I would say Virginia Tech picked
25.
up 42% of their third downs.
No, they picked up like 15%.
2 for 12, 17%.
Wow.
Yeah, Chris almost
Ooh,
had on.
there you go. Look at that.
Nice.
So huge improvement on third down, offensively and defensively. That was the last thing I had for that.
Well, and it's kind of like Walter said, like when you get 17 third downs, like that means that's a good thing. 'Cause it means you're moving the ball. That's wow.
See, I
Both
thought
of
he
those
said
surprised
I
me.
thought he said 17 third downs meant you were doing good on defense because you were stopping them that many times.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
means
kinda
you're
like
that's
the
what you're
reverse.
saying.
Yeah, you can think about it either way, really.
Right.
Actually, now that I think about it, but yeah, it's just, if you think about it from a defensive perspective, it means you're getting stops on first downs and you're forcing them into third downs. But offensively, I think, hey, you're getting 17 third downs. It means you're moving the ball a lot. Things are, because that's a high number. I think comparing that we only had 12 the week before, but we also weren't converting them.
Right. But yeah, I can't wait for the atmosphere this weekend.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be fantastic. I plan to get to West Lafayette early as Saturday to just have a great time. I don't know whose tailgate I'm gonna bomb, but I'm gonna bomb somebody's tailgate. Just bring myself in
You're
there.
gonna surprise attend, because if you say bomb a tailgate, that puts you on a list.
Yeah,
Just
that's
saying.
tough. That's tough.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
I
never
would
mind,
know.
guys. I can no longer go to the game this Saturday.
you're on the
Yeah.
list.
I'll take the ticket. Yeah,
We're gonna
good.
hang out with the Maccabees, I would think.
Yeah. Oh,
With the
are you
uncles?
gonna be there, Dylan?
Hopefully.
You
I
gonna-
mean, I plan on
Oh.
it.
Nice.
Hey, I don't appreciate the little stats that was shown there, but
Thanks,
correct.
Dale.
Hey, what?
the shade.
1 for 3 ain't bad.
I'm gonna show up
Dylan.
to the
One-
game this
you know,
Saturday, and
1
there
for
I feel
3
like
ain't
I'm just
bad.
gonna have like eyes on me.
Maybe
like
what I'm not going to tell you if I'm going or not, and that way it's a surprise, and I'll find you, and I'll like, I don't know,
he's
boo.
gonna show up in like the fourth quarter of the IU game this year. Be like, see, guys, I told you I'd be here this
I
year.
told you, huh?
No.
Boil her up.
But no, yeah, I plan on being there. I've got to work during the day, but I will be there after.
Gonna be
It'll be a
lit,
good time.
as the kids.
Very good time.
Well, and you will
Um,
see on the field that Syracuse has been using primarily 3 different running backs this season. Would you like to know about them?
Sure.
Absolutely, Frank.
So it seems like the primary back has been LaQuint Allen. Is 127 rushing yards on the season, 5.3 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. The other 2, Ike Daniels, 17 carries, 99 yards, 5.8 yards per carry. Third, Jawan Price, 22 carries for 86 yards. I believe we're going to see mostly LaQuint Allen because, again, once these games start to get kind of blowout-ish, teams start to pull their starters. And so I think that, these second 2 running backs are more of a garbage time type of running back. That's just my theory, though. I don't know that to be the case for sure. But I expect to see LaQuint Allen, who honestly reminds me a lot of Devin Mockabee. He's 6 foot, 195 pounds. So it's a little bit more of a speedy, elusive type of running back. So I'll just be really curious to see how our defense prepares for him and the scramble attack of Garrett Schrader, which I don't know if I said this, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself. He has 61 yards on scrambles this season so far, only 15 yards on the ground for a designed run. So the majority of his rushing yards are coming from scrambles. So seems like we're in for another dose of Garrett Schrader, running on the ground against us, or trying to. So I'll be really curious to see how we kind of handle the running back, quarterback, rushing threat.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because, if you look at Purdue's defense from just week 1 to week 2, they obviously struggled with the scrambling quarterback. But week 2, I don't know, was Virginia Tech's quarterback, was he kind of that dual threat? Like he could run the ball, but also throw it, or?
I think he was more of a true pocket passer.
Yeah.
Okay.
That backup they brought in is
The
more
one
of
from
a
Baylor, the transfer from Baylor.
the transfer
Yeah.
from Baylor.
And I was terrified when they brought him in.
Me too.
With 2 minutes
Oh
left in
my.
the game to bring in your backup quarterback, which oddly enough, the announcers for the game said that they expected to see him, at some point in the game. That was
Yeah.
news to me.
Well, because I think even Billy Ray from the Sons of Saturday said that I think they like talked a little bit about like expecting like a dual quarterback system. Maybe, but yeah, they definitely didn't do it until like the last 2 minutes of that game. And of course, the first pass he throws is like a 25-yard, first down.
Yeah.
Which kinda got
When that
everybody.
happened, I was like, oh damn.
Well, and there was one play where he ran, or he tucked the ball and ran. And I don't know who it was that he hit, but he laid a thump on a Purdue player. I mean, it was right in front of us. We could hear
I
it.
think it was
Sanusi
Marquise
Kane?
Wilson.
Okay. It just someone went in to tackle him, and he just, I mean, if I'm a coach, I'm getting on my quarterback. I don't want him doing that. But he
Yeah.
lowered his shoulder and hit him. I mean, it was like, whoa.
So based on rushing stats, Purdue currently ranks 11th in the country and 3rd in the Big Ten in rushing defense.
I'll take it.
That's fascinating. And considering our
and
schedule being the 3rd hardest preseason, that's pretty darn impressive.
Right.
What were you gonna say, Russ?
I was just going to say, when Frank was talking about we're going to have our hands full and we're going to deal with some more of the same from last year with Schrader trying to scramble on us, I don't think that's going to work against this defense. I think we're starting to learn the identity of this defense and how you're going to try to beat them, and it's not going to be running the ball. So I think they're averaging over 200 yards a game. I would be surprised if they topped 100 yards against us. I'd be surprised.
Is that an official bold prediction?
That's an official bold prediction. I'd say they do not hit triple digits as a team rushing yards this Saturday night because, you can say what you will about their schedule, and they've obviously done what they needed to against the opponents they've had, but they are not nearly as battle tested as we are. We're hyped coming off Coach Walt's first win, and it's a night game at Ross-Ade.
That's true. Everything goes up. Like we'll get like plus 10 attributes to everything when it's a night game at Ross-Ade. So,
and go ahead and add like a +5 for coming off Coach Walt's first win. So I think that they're going to have to beat us essentially the same way that other teams have moved the ball against us, and that's with some quick slants, beating this man coverage and confusing the zone coverage, stacking guys and trying to get our defense a little out of place because, we've seen that Kane and Allen, they're transitioning from being a safety to a cover corner or a slot corner kind of a position. And, I think they're obviously improving at that. You saw with Cam Allen picking up an interception and being in a good spot this week. And I think you just see a bigger improvement next week.
What did you guys say that Dylan Thieneman is on track for right now? How many
12 interceptions?
12 interceptions for the season.
And was it like 48 tackles or something like that? Something crazy?
Oh no, it's like 90 plus tackles.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Maybe even 100. Yeah.
Did he have 12 tackles against Virginia Tech, or what was his numbers?
He had 7, I think. He had 10 in week 1 and 7, so he's averaging 8.5 a game.
Yeah, he's currently 3rd in the nation for interceptions.
And it was really interesting too to see how far back he plays. Like it didn't quite hit me until I saw it in person.
Oh,
some plays he's 25 to 30 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
He's our human safety net.
He truly is a safety valve. And there was an entire drive. It was actually a 3 and out for Purdue's defense that I watched. I just watched him, and his ability to read and react is elite. I mean, he would just see something and just sprint, and he's so fast. And there's some Virginia Tech fans around us who maybe had some negative things to say about him throughout the game, and it was such poetic justice when he caught that interception. That was great to see.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, Syracuse is a 2.5 point favorite. Purdue actually opened as a 3.5 point favorite. And I think that kind of surprised a lot of people. I think, with Syracuse getting a lot of hype right now, that we thought we'd be a pretty strong underdog, but it seems like Vegas is kind of 50-50 on who they think is going to win this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be surprising game, so to speak. In terms of, I think like we've seen like the offense get it together, and now the defense has kind of gotten it together. I think this will be the game where it all just kind of
what?
meshes. Sorry, stupid microphone.
Just yelling meshes.
It just kind of
These are spirit fingers.
We need a yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. Words. You get it.
You did the same thing Chris just did. Good job, Dylan.
We're great with words. What do you mean?
Yeah.
So what is it? Prediction time.
Okay.
Are we doing score predictions, or I guess we're doing score predictions.
I mean, might as well.
Yeah.
Can anyone guess what mine's going to be?
Boilers by 1 billion.
Yeah, you got it. Attaboy. Boilers by 1 billion.
You think Purdue's going to win by 1 billion?
Yes, indeed I do.
That's a hot
exactly what I
take.
mean. That's a very hot take. Boilers by
Spicy.
1 billion with a B. Anyway, you adults take it away.
I don't know. I think it could be a high scoring game. Obviously I want Purdue to win. I'm going to go 31-24 Purdue.
Yeah, just I think that Purdue has had a lot more of their weaknesses exposed than Syracuse has. I think, when you play teams like Colgate and Western Michigan, and those are the only 2 teams you've played, you don't get a lot of your weaknesses exposed. So I think Purdue has been able to address some of their weaknesses, and maybe Syracuse hasn't. And for that reason, I'm thinking this one gets ugly. I'm going to guess 34-21 Purdue.
Okay.
I like
Bold
the way
take.
you're thinking, Frank. I do also think that Syracuse is going to have to react to getting actually punched in the mouth. They've averaged 3.5 points a game given up. So, when they actually have to deal with, we completed 8 passes this week against Virginia Tech. So, you have 8 different options you've got to guard, and we've got a 3-headed monster in the backfield. Really 4 if you include Hudson Card starting to get a little more comfortable scrambling. He had the game-winning rushing touchdown, if that wasn't mentioned yet. So I think maybe we mimic a pretty big night game for Purdue that was a pretty big defining game for the last coaching regime. And I think we get another 49-20 mark.
Wow.
Interesting.
Bold predictions here. Yeah, bold predictions. Okay. Go take it away, Chris.
I think that, hold on, let me look at one thing. I think that what you're going to see is you're going to see, like I said a little bit ago, everything just falling together for Purdue.
You got some competition now, Dylan. We got a comment coming in here from Cody Michael Abrams. Boilers by 1 trillion.
Oh my.
So, I'll take it. I'm not mad about it. He said he's going to buy us beers on Saturday, so
he did, yeah. So
maybe 1 trillion beers if you're lucky.
Hey, yo, sounds like a great time. So what I will say is that I think so right now Syracuse ranks middle of the road for average passing and rushing yards per game. They're the rushing yards like 73rd in the country and passing's like 62-ish, something like that. I think that they're going to run into a buzzsaw when it comes to passing. Or when it comes to rushing. And yes, Russ, they're against teams like Western Michigan and Colgate. And I think that's going to force them into a pass coverage. And we've seen the jump from week 1 to week 2. There wasn't as many lost coverages and guys being wildly out of position. And I tried for like 3 hours to watch the secondary to try and figure out how this pass secondary works. Can't figure it out. It makes my tiny brain hurt. But I think ultimately, with all that said, I'm looking at like 31-17, 31-14.
Okay. These are all some bold predictions. I don't know why, but it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I wanna fully believe. I want to be there with you guys, but I'm just I'm reserved right now.
Come on in. The water's nice.
I'm that Purdue fan.
Just
But
fine.
also I don't know if this is true or not. But Cody Michael Abrams, I think you're the guy that won our 100 follower giveaway like last year and got that Devin Mockabee t-shirt. So if that's
Did
you,
you
man,
actually send it to him?
I did.
There we go.
I did. And Dylan,
From
you
the
would've got
top
your shirt
rope.
if you would have came in this weekend. But
We would have got your shirt if you I won't see that for another 30 years. God.
maybe actually it's still in my car. So if because I haven't cleaned out my car since I left yet. Hey, he's the guy that we got the shirt for. That's awesome.
Attaboy,
Love
Cody.
to see it.
Nice.
If we see you Saturday, you should wear that shirt if it's not too cold. I don't remember if you got a sweatshirt or a t-shirt. So
Be a man, just wear a t-shirt. You know?
be a man. Have you seen those videos?
Yeah, be a man.
Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing left here, I'd like to possibly toss something out somewhere. Perhaps throw one out there.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
But like rather than like me going on a rant or me just rambling for like I want this to be like kind of a Q&A, with you guys. But Russ, all credit goes to you for being the first person to say this after Fresno State. Russ said that he thought Hudson Card, or maybe it was before Fresno State. He said they thought Hudson Card was the best quarterback in the Big Ten West. And after week 1, I wasn't convinced. I didn't think there was enough sample size. After week 2, I'm like, okay, it passes the eyeball test. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm really into analytics and stats. And so so I decided to look in. Yeah, that's why that exists. So I decided to look into it and see if there were any stats that would support that. One thing I love about analytics is that sometimes the eye that we look at things with from an emotional side, because there is an emotional aspect to sports, oftentimes it's not reflected in reality. So, I wanted to see if there was any bias there for me. But like, how do you define the best quarterback, right? Is it, who leads the conference, the Big Ten West in passing yards? I don't really think that's fair. But he does lead the Big Ten West in passing yards with 502. The second is Tanner Mordecai with 463. So pretty decent margin there. But not all passing yards are kind of created equal. And a really good example of that is his throw that he had to Deion Burks. Like, Deion Burks had an 84 or 86-yard touchdown. The majority of that was Deion Burks. Card put it in his hands 6 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Deion Burks did the rest. So that's not really a fair metric. But, there's another thing we can look at too, and that's how often teams run versus pass. Army runs on 92% of their plays this season. Florida Atlantic only runs on 25%. So not really apples and apples to use passing yards. So if we dive into something a little more complex, there's a stat that PFF has created called adjusted completion percentage. So it's basically a completion percentage but adding in wide receiver drops. So if you hit a wide receiver in the hands and they drop it, it still counts as a completion for this instance of this stat. So he's actually third in all the Big Ten at 74.6. Then we can take a look at turnovers. He's the only quarterback in the Big Ten West to not have an interception this season. What's even more impressive is he has the lowest number of what PFF calls turnover-worthy plays. He only has one. Wow. PFF defines this as a play that has a high percentage chance of being intercepted. So if you think about like a throw hitting a wide receiver in the hands and they tip it up in the air, that doesn't get counted as a turnover for the sake of this stat. So he only has one. Some have as many as 10. So that's just to go to show the comparison there. He leads the Big Ten in passer rating at 97.3. Second is Luke Altmaier at 86. Again, pretty big margin there. But perhaps the most interesting stat, and the one that really sets him apart, is what PFF calls their pressure to sack percentage, which, Rush, I'm sure you've looked into this as well. But it's the percentage of plays where the quarterback is under pressure that results in a sack. So I'm going to say that one more time. It's the percentage of plays where the quarterback is under pressure where the quarterback takes a sack. Card leads the Big Ten West by a mile. His pressure to sack percentage is 6.9%. The second best is 16.7%, held by Cade McNamara. Wow. Couple that with the fact that Card has been under pressure more than any quarterback in the West. Like, the offensive line's not doing him any favors. That also has to do with the fact that we do have the toughest schedule in the West, in my opinion. But he's been under pressure on 29 of his dropbacks and only sacked 2 times. You can compare that to Altmaier, who's been under pressure 25 times and has been sacked 8 times. So, given all that, is Card the best quarterback in the Big Ten West? And if not, who is?
After 2 games, I'd say yes.
Shout out to Frank and his big brain. Dale Gray, just comment. I like those stats, Frank. Thank you for sharing. And we love Frank's stats as well, too. Dale, Frank does a great job. He dumbs it down for us all, too, so we all understand somewhat what he's saying. Yeah, it's cool, though, because there are a lot of times, like especially basketball season, I think that's where I get the most emotional. I know it's going to shock everybody, but
I'm so surprised.
What? No.
But I think Frank always reels everybody back in with, oh, actually, it's this or it's that or, whatever. And sometimes it's like, God, Frank, I want to punch you in the face. Let me feel my feels.
The fact
but
that Duke didn't hire Frank is ridiculous. I mean, they totally should have.
I
mean, we want him where he's ours, but like he'd get paid more there.
Okay, this is a good question. Is Card playing too conservative at times? Question from the Noodle.
Nice to see you back.
Yeah.
So my only criticism of Carr in his actual gameplay has been that sometimes I feel like he tries to do a little too much, it seems. And I feel like he tries to imitate Patrick Mahomes in his gameplay, kind of I'm gonna run and I'm gonna pretend like I'm gonna run and I'm gonna stop and pump fake. I'm actually gonna run and I'm gonna sling it out to somebody. And sometimes it just seems like the better decision would have been to just scramble for 6 yards and go down. I mean, so he's going to do that sometimes, and he's going to make really big plays. And he's going to do that sometimes, and he's going to take a sack. But I think that, he just needs to learn when to kind of pull out what tricks out of his bag at the right times.
But I think that your own stats display that he's maybe not as crazy as what people think he is. If he's got a 6.9% pressure to sack ratio and he's only got 1 turnover, What'd you say? What was the
Zero
term used?
turnovers.
Zero
Yeah,
turnover.
but the
Or
one turnover worthy
one turnover
play.
worthy play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no turnovers, one turnover worthy play, I think exhibits that he is making sure that he doesn't cost us the game.
Yeah.
And we also didn't mention that he's getting the Riz King or the Riz Master back this game.
Whoa,
Right.
I never
Whoa.
expected you to say such words.
What a
Hey,
segue.
Wow.
Hey, old
This took a
dogs
turn
can
for the
learn new
worse.
tricks. Let's go. So,
I know, boy,
forgot
Russ. You got your
I
ears
forgot
to
that Big
street.
Banner gave him the what was it, like the most risible person
Is it
or
risible?
yeah, most
I
Riz
don't
Kings
or
or whatever.
something.
Yeah. But
You
yeah,
can
he's
tell
back
the
at the
folks
top of
that
the
run
depth
banter are
chart.
much younger.
Yeah. So Garrett Miller is coming back too as well, fully healthy. Like he played last game, but as Walter said, he just kind of had a limited amount of packages or limited amount of plays in a package that they had for him. So him coming back healthy, Gus Hartwig coming back healthy. You know, what was the big comment we had on that last game-winning drive? Was the O-line like stepped up.
Yeah.
So we get Hartwig back and the leader of that O-line back. Imagine a whole game of the O-line playing like they did on that drive.
Yeah.
That's where I get 49-20 from, because you get a whole game of that hat on hat being able to let Card just pick apart the defense. It could be a masterpiece.
Yeah. We got a couple comments if you
Got
guys
a couple
could pull those
comments
up.
here. First comment here from Nick. How do these compare against all of the Big Ten? McCarthy has to be the top. Baby Tua or Aller have been fine. Curious if Card is top 5. Let's see. When looking at all of the Big Ten here, I guess we can start with passing yards. Noah Kim actually leads in passing yards with 571.
Yeah, it's
Michigan State.
quarterback.
Yep. Hudson Card is 5th. And so let's see. Just a completion percentage. Well, let's get rid of the people who have like played one snap here. He is 6th in the Big Ten. So the East is strong. But
He's middle of the pack, like upper middle of the pack.
Upper middle of the pack in all the Big Ten, but seems to be, in my opinion, given everything that we just said, the best in the West for sure.
Yeah, I would take maybe those 3 over him, and that's probably about it. The 3 that Nick mentioned.
And I don't even know. To me. Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. I had the Michigan State quarterback.
You all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and let's address our next question here, which, Russ, this is a good one, maybe for you.
Historian.
Have we ever beaten back-to-back AC schools in team history?
I don't think we've ever played 2 ACC teams.
That's a really good question.
The team historian is going to Google it real fast.
I wish Purdue. I wish football had like how basketball we have the ACC Big Ten Challenge, or we did, or I think that's still a thing.
Well, we would just play Florida State every year.
Right. But I wish we had something like Big Ten SEC or Big 10.
Big 12.
Oh my God! Imagine
whoever.
the Big 10 ACC or SEC.
Ooh.
I'm getting.
We probably get
flashbacks
stuck
to
playing like
Tennessee and
Arkansas
Nashville.
every year.
Time for you to come up here and get cold, boys. We're scheduling that shit for November.
Well, isn't this week basically that? Like I've seen a lot of talk about, like, they might as well call this week in college football the Big Ten ACC.
Yeah, the
challenge.
Tex
There's
isn't Tex playing Rutgers this week?
Tech's playing Rutgers this week. We're playing Syracuse.
Maryland, Virginia.
Maryland is playing Virginia. I think there were like 4 or 5.
Louisville, IU.
Yep, there were like 4 or 5. Yep.
Duke, Northwestern, Louisville.
Say it one more time.
Louisville IU for the last time, the first and the last time.
Yeah. So the Noodle, the Noodle. We got a comment from the Noodle here saying that he's pretty sure there's 6 as well. So yeah, it seemed like there were a lot this week. I saw something about.
Can't wait
that.
for somebody to just be listening to this and not watching and just hearing Chris is going.
Frank, are you gonna edit that out for the audio podcast?
No, I'm gonna leave that in there for sure. Someone's gonna be driving to work and have to hear that.
They're gonna pull up right next to their boss.
No, that's actually a really good imitation of the gobbles that we heard.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
Well, it's kind of like the
No,
gobble reminded me a lot of, and I think Virginia Tech's probably the only one. But every college team that has a cat, the Bearcats, whoever else, they all have the same like tiger noise. I don't know. It's the worst.
But like at Purdue, we do the the bell chime or the kill, the minor second over and over again. But man, they're just like Like, it just
That's
doesn't
perfect.
doesn't get
God.
me. It doesn't get me hyped up. Like, it doesn't. It's just like, oh, stop that. Like, it just
Not only does Frank have the biggest brain, but he can do a turkey impersonation like nobody's business.
have a comment here from the Noodle. Thank God I didn't have my headphones on. Yeah, apologies to anyone who does that they had to hear all those.
Whoever else is in your home right now is probably like, what the hell?
I was going to say that could be a double-edged sword right there.
It looks like Russ is deep in research over there, and Russ, I know this isn't an easy thing to. Okay, yeah, I know this isn't an easy thing to answer right away, but do you have something to say, Russ?
So I got it. So there's only one other time that we even played two ACC teams in the same season. We did beat both of them, but they were not back to back. However, if you count Notre Dame, we beat three ACC teams in that season, and Notre Dame and Virginia were back to back. In 1968, we opened with Virginia and beat them. Let's see, where was it at? It was at home.
1968.
1968, we beat Virginia at home 44-6 to open the season.
You graduated that year, dude.
I was going to say I repeated 1968 for somebody to jump on it.
That was actually my 10-year
reunion.
Super senior by that point.
But then we played Wake Forest in week 5 at home and beat them by a score of 28-27. But they weren't back to back, but we did beat two ACC teams. The only other season we played two ACC teams, so that does bode well.
Hey, attaboy.
Here we go.
Well,
that got awkward.
I don't know why I thought we had something else to talk about, and I just like totally spaced it. But we are at our hour mark that we typically hop off.
It's Russ's bedtime, everybody. We've got to get going. Hey, Russ, Chris, you guys matching? I just had to bring that up.
Oh, hold on. We got a comment from Dale Gregg here.
Dale, raise Dale, praise Dale.
Saw an article that IU backed out of the 24 to 27 years contract with them. Unsure if it's true, but if true, thoughts should Purdue pick up that game for potentially at Lucas Oil Stadium. So IU dropped their series against Louisville for the next 2 years. It was a 3-year series. They are going to play them this week, and then I think they bought out of that, which is true. That is true. And Dale wants to know if Purdue should pick that up and play a game against Louisville.
Hey, you know what?
Potentially at Lucas Oil.
You know, I wouldn't be against it, except we've got like the next 3 or 4 years non-conference schedule is pretty locked in. So
yes, I think maybe he was referring to moving a game to Lucas Oil, which I think that would be great.
That part, yeah. I would be up for another Notre Dame game down there.
We actually have Notre Dame on next year's schedule, so that would be a good idea.
Dame.
Yeah, that one's at Ross Aid though. That'll be cool.
That or Indiana State, we play them next year as well. We could play them at Lucas Oil.
Yeah, but no Indiana State people are going to pack Lucas Oil.
It's like an hour and a half, I think, from Indy.
How many people pay attention to Indiana State football?
You'd be surprised.
So
Indiana State has their limbs in a lot of people.
Here's the take that I saw. I think might have come from an IU fan supposedly defending IU making this move.
Oh, shocker.
I guess they were basically conceding that they are a crap football program because their support of the move was saying, if you're not going to be a playoff team, you might as well schedule cupcakes to get at least 3 of your wins. And all you got to do is win 3 conference games and you get a bowl game. And that should be
we know that's their strategy. They do it every year.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But to me, that's just going to cement them in the bottom of the Big Ten and have them 4-8. Maybe 5-7 as a top watermark. Yeah. And it's going to kill their recruiting, right? Like, would you rather go to Purdue and play, 2 ACC teams and a conference winner, or go to IU and play Ivy Tech, Indiana School for the Deaf, and Ball State?
And Ball State.
Jesus.
And that's what makes so for anyone who doesn't know, something we do as part of the Big Banter Network is we do put out weekly power rankings. That's what makes power rankings this early in the season so hard.
Yeah,
that so many teams have only played Colgate and have only played Western Michigan. So is it
Charlotte?
And there's people that would say that we've only played Fresno State and Virginia Tech too. So,
true, but is it better? So like I look at a school like Nebraska. Like, how do we compare them to, maybe or Maryland, let's say, who hasn't really played anyone tough? I just think that like, is an 0-2 Nebraska, like how do we say which team is better right now? Because Nebraska is probably the only team I think that could rival Purdue for strength of schedule so far in the season. I think PFF has them ranked slightly 2 slots higher than Purdue in strength of schedule. But yeah, got a comment here. Preach, Russ. So
hey, I try.
No, yeah, I think that power rankings are interesting. That's for sure. But yeah, you're right though. It is important to take the totality of the circumstances, if you will, in not just ranking teams, but I'm talking about like just in general. We could go into the season having probably one of the toughest schedules, and it could turn out to be a bust. What was it a couple years ago? We had what looked like to be a halfway decent schedule, and that everybody got really good, and we were clawing our way through the whole damn thing. So I think it's just kind of circumstantial, and it is too early to tell. But if you beat teams like Charlotte and Colgate or something like that, you look really good and sound really good until you get to November and you're staying home for bowl season.
Right.
That's why I struggle with a team like Iowa too. They've won both their games. They didn't look great though.
Yeah.
And a team like Illinois for who the score of the Illinois-Kansas game is not indicative of how close it wasn't. That's and they struggled at home against Toledo as well.
I really liked watching Kansas that game. I know we were watching it at the Airbnb Friday night. That was or maybe Saturday. I don't remember what day it was. No, Friday. That was a really fun game to watch. Like I think Kansas is a really fun team. Jalen Daniels is a good quarterback. Very shifty. So that was my 2 cents on Kansas. Appreciate you guys tuning into the Kansas Jayhawk podcast.
Hey, their uniforms are rad.
I'll take that a step further and say that it looked like there was just a huge talent disparity between the two teams in favor of Kansas.
Yeah. Which is wild because I remember 5 years ago when they you couldn't pay somebody to play football. That's cool.
Yeah, Lance
the biggest thing
turned that program around big time.
The biggest thing that was missing from Illinois was their defensive.
Yeah, didn't they have the defensive coordinator of the year last year? What happened to that guy? Is he not?
What happened?
Weird.
Old Bert doesn't know what to do. He's just waddling up and down that sideline, all sorts of confused.
I will say, based off some of the things that you said, kind of reiterating what you guys said, that this game this week against Syracuse will be the first real measuring stick game for us this year. Because yes, Fresno State is a group of 5. Yes, Virginia Tech was 2-9 last year, but Syracuse was a bowl team. Syracuse did beat us, even though we kind of really beat ourselves last year against them. And they're bringing back Schrader. They did lose some pieces. They lost their star running back, but Schrader is, the biggest reason that they were able to knock us off last year, and he's coming back. So this is a revenge game for guys like Sanusi Kane, guys like Nick Scorton, guys that were on that defense that watched that last drive and probably replayed that drive among others after last season. I think they'll be ready to take his block off this week.
And Gus Hartwig that potentially could be coming back this week, coming off of injury. I don't know if we've gotten to mention that yet, but yeah. So I think Frank had one more thing to say, and then we'll wrap it up here. He wanted to throw something else out there.
No, that was just a joke. That was not a real thing. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry to everybody at home that was waiting on that. Yeah. Really disappointing. Well, we'll have to talk to Frank after we go off the air, and we'll deliberate, how we move forward from here. Yeah. So
have a review.
But we'll go ahead and wrap it up, guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in once again. Shout out to our partners over at Big Banner. You can check out their website, check out all the podcasts, check out all the blogs that they've got as well. And of course, Cincy Blitz Boards, it's a Purdue-owned business. Great game for the family, great game for tailgates. Everything in general is just a great game to have fun with your friends with. We were really disappointed that we didn't get to play it this weekend. Shout out to Dylan for that one. And then, I've
gotten a lot of flack tonight. I'm not happy about it. I've gotten a lot of shit tonight, and whatever. Oh, now Nick's chiming in. Great, appreciate it. Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. Great.
But yeah, as always, thank you all so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. Want to shout out the Turtlehead Podcast for giving us that free advertisement on their Twitter earlier. Shouting us out, talking about how great of a podcast we were. So appreciate that.
We are awesome.
And everybody else at Big Banner. And we'll see you guys next week. So boiler up, hammer down, and let's beat Syracuse.
Boiler up.